In this video, I'll be discussing how you can manipulate subjects, seasons, and questions when creating content within the EduEditor. So let's get into it. For this particular video, I'm going to open an existing content that has both English and Maths content. So to open an existing content, you can just double click on this EduEditor file and it's going to open up the project and continue right from where you stop. So now I've opened the project and now I want to show you how you can manipulate subject seasons and questions. So what I mean by manipulate is when you right click on any subject, you've got some properties, right? So what I'm referring to is I want to explain in detail what all of these properties are meant for. Mind you, I'm going to exclude anything related to AI in this conversation. AI will have its own conversation in a separate video. So how do you what are all these menus meant for? So the first one is adding of season. So I've talked about that in previous video. To add a season is simply to just click and add kind of subset. So I can add something like, let's say JSS1, right? I can add JSS1 right underneath English, and here I have JSS1. So that's what the add season is meant for. Then you can rename. So let's say for some reason you want to rename the English language to English, right? You can do that and right away you'll get the change reflecting. Don't forget to save your work from time to time, but I'll talk about how to auto save later on. So you can save your work just to be sure that the change has been saved. Then what else can we do with this menu? How else can we manipulate the season? You can clone an entire season. So what that means is you can duplicate it, including all its seasons. So if I click on clone, then I'll be asked to provide the name of the new subject. So let me just use English clone. And here we have a clone version of English, and it contains exactly what you have in the previous in English. And so the reason why that may be necessary is, let's say you want to make some changes, and before you make some serious change, you want to clone it in case you want to go back to it. You can do that, and that's it. Then the next thing is I can delete an entire season. I can just right click delete, and it clears everything, all of its content gone. Okay, then the next thing is I can set the property of a subject. So this property is relevant for certain scenarios, but not in few scenarios. So let me click on properties. Let's say you want to associate an icon to this image. You can do that. You just click edit and browse for the icon. So I want to associate it with this English icon here. So let me pick this English icon here. And here I have English. So this is relevant for the app. So let's say for some reason the app needs to associate an icon to this subject. If you don't specify an icon, it's going to use a default icon. Then the next is, but you don't need it for the most part. It will use a default icon if needed. Then the subject code is going to be named after the original name at the point of creating the subject. You can always change it to anything. Then revision is just for you to keep track of your edits. Then your number list is designed to enable the app at the user end, right, to see a list of sub questions to pick from. So let's say, although this does not apply to TestCentre per se, because in the case of TestCentre, the user or the candidate is not allowed. They are generally not allowed to set or select the number of questions when they're about to sit for the exam. But this is relevant for other use cases. So let's say you are you want to create your own CBT app using our engine. This is relevant for you to show a drop down that will allow users to pick the number of questions they want to sit for. Then this is also useful for those certain questions in TestCentre. So instead of you always typing the number of questions, you have the choice to pick from a predefined list. So this is actually where you set the predefined list. Then your default number of questions is what will be revealed to you when you are setting question in TestCentre. So anything you set will be default that you see before you change it. Then the default season is also what will be presented to you if you are setting questions, but you have the liberty to change it when setting questions. Then this is relevant for the AI feature. So I may talk about that during the discussion of AI. Then this part has to do with the for those using the CBT engine for outside test center. So if you check this as compulsory, it means when a student is about to practice for their exam, they get to see that subject as the subject will be checked by default. Then this feature is useful for this use for quiz is useful for Millionaire Game, right? For the main CBT app. But then this is not relevant for most people that will be using it for test center. Now but the key thing you should take away from this is you may need to set this list because if you set it, it will make your work easier when you're setting questions. So instead of typing a number of questions, you can just pick from a drop down, which will be whatever you set here. Then this default number of questions is what will be presented to you when you're about to set questions. So these two are the most important things to take note of from these properties. Then the other property setting here is this. You can move this subject up or down. So I can move it down just to change the order in which it appears to you when you are to the user when the user is about to take the exam for the CBT app, not for test center. The test center, it doesn't really matter the order in which you set your question. Then you also have the liberty to sort items underneath the season. So you can have a case where, let's say you want to sort everything as sending order, so you want to rearrange everything, or you want to set everything in descending order, so depending on what you want. I'm going to skip all the AI features, then goes right into apply. Now, you can, if you want to make certain changes, so let's say you want to make certain changes to your questions, and let's say you have a lot of questions, you can use this feature to save it time. So let's look at it from this perspective. So I have SS1 uh, content, right? And I wish to set all the marks to be 2 marks. I want all of this to be 2 marks instead of 1 mark. Apply is a very useful way, is a very nice way to achieve that. So I can say on this particular subject, I want all the seasons, all the questions under the season to have a particular mark. So in this case, I want everything to have 2 marks, to be assigned 2 marks. If you do that, all the questions under this particular subject will have 2 marks. And of course, I can change that back to 1 mark, right? I can change that back to 1 mark. So this is a very useful way to make some subject-wide change. Okay, then another thing to note is if you are under SS2, there's something I need to bring to your attention. You will see that we have, if you check the completion panel, you will see we have page 1 of 2, right? So whenever you have more than 50 questions, it overflows to the next page. So you can always move to the next page to see the remaining question. Okay, now let's go back to the manipulation. So now you can also apply the same topic to each of them, and you can also apply the same prefix. So the prefix means, let's say I want each question to have certain, to start with a word. Let's say I want to say this question has to do with, maybe is an English question. Let's say I want to insert a particular word to the very beginning of every question. Then I can do that right away here. Then the other thing you need to note is you can view the statistics of your question by topic. So I can click on that and get to see that, okay, drama, I have 31 questions under drama, and that's 19.25% of my total number of questions. So first is the total number of questions is 165 under this subject. And here's a breakdown of the topics, and they are all sorted in descending order. So the topic that has the highest number of questions will be at the very top. Okay, let's move on to the next thing, which is reconstruct question from topic. So imagine you have a database of questions. Let's say you set some questions maybe a year ago, and you want to quickly set question from your bank. You don't want to set a new question. So you want to set some questions from your existing question, but this time around you want it to pick certain number of questions from certain number of topics. So let me give you an idea. So let's say I want to set a question from drama. So let me click select by set by topic. So I want to set question from drama, from prose, and from poetry. So these are the questions. I want to set questions related to these topics. And I click on OK. The next thing is for drama, how many questions do you want to set? So I want to set 5 questions here, and prose 5 questions, and poetry 5 questions. Then proceed. And what name do you want to give the subject? So let's want to call the subject mock. Let's say this is a mock, right? And I want to use my existing content. So number of season is okay. Do you want to just have one season for this particular case? Yes, I want to have just one season. Then how many questions per season? Well, 15 questions per season. Then the prefix of the mock, let me just call it mock. Then how should you do you want it to be mock 1, mock 2, mock 3, or do you want to be mock A, mock B? So that's what this surface pattern is talking about. Or you want to use Roman numerals. Here I want to use numbers. Then once you click on construct, then you have your constructed question from this English subject. So what that means is all the questions I'm going to see here, they are all from this English content. But then it's going to randomly pick 5 questions from drama, 5 questions from prose, and 5 questions from from poetry. Yeah, this is a very interesting way to set questions from an existing bank of questions. Okay, so that's all under a subject. So that's how you manipulate subject. So now let's talk about season. Once you right click season, you can manipulate it. Manipulate means it gives you a kind of drop down menu. And what can you do? You can rename any season. So you can rename this to be anything, and it's going to change to whatever you've renamed it to. You can clone it just the way you can clone subject. So if I clone this, it will clone itself and add it under the subject in which SS1 exists. Then you can also delete. So I can just take this clone version and delete it right away, and it's gone. Then what else can we do here? We can move it around. I can reorder it right within the subject. Then I can apply to each question. So for this particular scene, I can make the mark to be whatever I want to make them. I can change the topic. I can add a prefix to each question. Then I can import question from Word, right? And I can also export whatever I have done so far as PDF, as paper passport, and all of that. But I won't go into all of this. This is a separate video where I will explore how to import content from Word and from spreadsheet. Then I also explain how to export whatever you've done to PDF and so on and so forth. Okay, I'm going to skip the AI part and let's go to the statistics. You can also see the frequency, but this time around it will limit itself to the question under the season rather than the question from all the season under the subject. So this is just restricting itself to SS1. So under this SS1, I have 15 question drama, 14 question prose, and 10 question poetry. Okay, so the next thing is to go to more. So there are more things you can do here. You can delete questions by topic. So you can say, okay, I want all questions that are drama to be deleted. Now that may be relevant for some reason. So you may have certain reasons to delete certain topics. Then you may add questions from sibling season. So let's say I want to pick some question from SS2 and add it to this SS1. You can do that. Then you can, for example, I want to delete by topic. You'll be presented all the topic. Then you can select all the topics and delete. Then you can go here, which is add question from sibling, add question from another subject, and you can also spread an instruction. So you can say, okay, let every question have this instruction at the very top. Yeah, so these are some of the things you can do, how you can manipulate the season. Now let's talk about question. Now, question has two sides. So we have question under objective and question under theory. So under objective, if you want to manipulate a question, you can just right click on the number here and then you just see preview, move, or insert. So these are the things that are available to you. Or you can also clone, right? Then you can do the same thing here. You can preview, check dictionary, but this is not the manipulation. This one is just things you can do like preview and all of that, but it's not actual manipulation. Okay, so that's for objective. What about theory? What can you do under theory questions? So let me show you theory. Now, under theory, because theory, the questions are right under the season. You can right click on them. So this is, let me pick this particular year. Then let me click on this and let me right click. Now I can add question under this question. So by adding question under it means I can change it from 2 to 2A or 2B. And of course, I can rename it, I can delete, I can move, and I can apply to each question under it. So these are the ways you can manipulate subjects, seasons, and questions under the EduEditor.